Today, we're doing a deep dive into something that, well, it's often kept quiet, isn't it? Hidden by shame, but it impacts half the world's population. We're talking about menstrual inequity. Some people call it period poverty, but honestly, the consequences go way beyond just money. And just to give you a sense of the scale here, right from the top, the UN figures estimate 500 million women and girls worldwide lack access to the basic care they need.
Wow.
Yeah. Products, facilities, education, the things needed to manage periods with, basic health and dignity. It's a staggering number. What does that actually look like in real life?
Well, that's roughly 25% of women of reproductive age globally. And it's really crucial we frame this right. This isn't just some niche hygiene problem. The World Health Organization, they see this as a critical human rights failure, plain and simple, because it acts as this massive systemic barrier to gender equity everywhere.
A human rights failure. That hits hard.
It does. And think about the time involved. Women menstruate, what, maybe 5 days a month on average? Add that up over a lifetime. A girl can spend about 3,000 days menstruating. That's basically 8 years of her life. 8 years that can be hugely impacted, disrupted, even totally shut down because she doesn't have the resources or support.
8 years. Okay, that really puts the scale into focus. And once you grasp that lack of basic products, the lack of clear education, you see these brutal ripple effects, don't you? Education, health, safety. Let's maybe look at a specific story that really brings this home. The source material talks about a girl named Alice in Nuru, Kenya.
Right.
So Alice, she starts her period at school, but nobody had ever told her about menstruation, so she literally didn't know what was happening to her body.
Oh, wow. Terrifying for her.
Absolutely. She bled through her skirt, was too scared to move from her desk, and then the teacher calls on her. She refuses to stand up, and the teacher slaps her right across the face in front of everyone.
That's just awful. The shame must have been immense.
Immense. And that initial shame it spiraled. For years, she struggled to manage her periods and just stay in school.
And the way she tried to cope were just heartbreaking. Using things like old rags, mattress stuffing, leaves.
Even tearing pages out of her school textbooks if she was caught unprepared.
Yep.
Just imagine.
Yeah.
And the final outcome for Alice, who was apparently a really bright student, it was devastating. She failed the big national exam, the one that's the gateway to higher education. Why? Because she started her period that day. The pain, the anxiety, she just couldn't concentrate.
So menstruation itself literally became the barrier to her future.
Exactly, that invisible barrier we hear about.
And if we broaden the lens from Alice's individual story, what's also fascinating in a disturbing way is how cultural stigma creates equally physical, even life-threatening barriers.
Right.
We see this with the practice called chapati in parts of Nepal.
Yeah.
It's this deep-seated belief that menstruating girls and women are, well, unclean, impure.
Impure, like they'll bring bad luck or something?
Exactly. Bad luck on the family, the home, the crops, you name it. So the consequence is exile. They're forced out of the house.
Out of their own home.
Yes. Forced to stay in separate menstrual huts. They call them goth, for about 5 days every single month. They're completely exposed to the weather, the cold, even animals. It's profound isolation and danger.
There was that quote you mentioned from the source, from one of the girls.
Yeah.
It really captured the cruelty of it.
It really does. A young woman named Rabina, she said, and this just stays with you, the dogs can go in the house, the goats can go in the house, but I can't go in the house.
Wow. That just lays it bare, doesn't it? The hierarchy.
It really does.
And I think you mentioned this practice is actually illegal in Nepal now. But does that mean it's stopped?
That's the critical point, isn't it? Yes, the government outlawed chapati. They even torn down huts physically. But fundamentally, this is about changing behavior, changing deeply ingrained beliefs. It's not just a legal fix.
But people still hold on to the belief.
They do. So they might rebuild the huts quietly or force women into other isolated spots like cow sheds. It persists because the shame, the fear, it's so deep. Laws alone aren't enough. You need that community-led grassroots work to really shift things.
Right. It has to come from within the community. And this lack of resources, it also spirals into a safety crisis, especially in places like Eastern Africa. The data from Kenya is pretty stark. 65% of women and girls can't afford disposable pads each month.
65%, that's huge.
It is. And the tragic outcome is that girls feel forced into, well, transactional sex just to get menstrual products.
Trading sex for pads.
Yeah. The figures are shocking. 2 out of 3 girls in Kenya reported getting pads from a sexual partner. And obviously that transaction puts them at huge risk unwanted pregnancy, violence, STIs.
It's a vicious cycle. And when you hear stats like that, you realize this idea that it's only an issue in quote-unquote low-income countries.
Yeah.
That's just wrong.
Yeah, that's a common misconception, isn't it?
It really is. Menstrual inequity is pervasive. It affects girls and women everywhere, including right here in high-income countries like the U.S.
Okay, so what does the data show for the U.S.?
Well, a YouGov survey found that more than 1 in 3 people who menstruate said they or their family have struggled to afford products.
1 in 3 in the U.S.
Yep. And the compromises they make sound familiar. 40% of U.S. teens admit wearing products longer than they should, which, leads directly to serious health risks like infections, even toxic shock syndrome.
Right.
And get this. 1 in 3 people reported missing work or school simply because they couldn't access the products they needed.
So whether it's Alice in Nairobi missing her exam or someone in the U.S. missing a day's pay, the barrier, economic, educational, health, it's fundamentally the same thing.
Exactly. It confirms that this is a holistic need. It's never just about the pads or tampons.
Okay, so what are the pieces then?
Well, you need 3 things really working together. First, yes, the products. Affordable, accessible products. Second, you need safe private bathrooms with adequate disposal facilities. And third, you absolutely need robust education. Education to tackle the stigma, the misinformation, the shame.
If you miss one piece.
The whole thing falls apart. The problem persists. You need all 3.
Okay, so that brings us to the really vital part, right? The solutions. What's actually working? What's creating real, hopefully generational change?
Yeah, let's talk about that.
The organization that comes up again and again in the research is Days for Girls International. Their approach seems to tackle all those angles.
If they do, their strategy really combines a very cleverly engineered product with an equally smart way of distributing it and providing that crucial education piece.
Let's start with the product itself, the washable pad. What's special about it?
Well, what's impressive is the level of detail in the engineering. It's actually a patented design, a reusable pad kit. And it wasn't just dreamed up. It's been field tested and improved something like 30 times since 2008.
Based on feedback from users.
Exactly. Direct feedback from girls and women using it in all sorts of climates. The materials are key. It uses very little water to wash, which is critical in many areas, and it dries quickly, even in humid places, to prevent mildew and infection risk.
And how long does it last? What's the cost?
So a full kit, the deluxe one, lasts on average 2 to 3 years. And the cost to produce it is around $15.
$15 for 3 years of access.
Yeah. And when you weigh that $15 against those 8 years of life, of opportunity, that can be lost. Well, the return on investment is just immeasurable. The organization says it themselves. The price of a pad is small, but the equity it provides is priceless.
Priceless equity. I like that. And the scale is significant, right? They've reached
millions. 3.7 million women and girls in 145 countries. So it's a proven, scalable model.
But like you said, the product alone isn't enough. They had to crack the stigma net, too. How do they tackle that?
Right. They realized pretty early on, you can't just educate the girls. You have to bring the whole community along, especially men and boys.
Ah.
So a key part of their system is the Men Who Know curriculum. It basically teaches men and boys the biological facts about menstruation. The goal is explicitly to dispel myths, shame, and stigma. It encourages community conversations, shifting the dynamic towards support, not fear or disgust.
That makes so much sense. And they also do advocacy.
Absolutely. They push for things like period-positive schools and period-positive workplaces, creating supportive infrastructure. And critically, they also focus on providing support during crises.
Like disasters or conflicts.
Exactly. Think about Ukraine, Morocco, Syria, Gaza. In emergencies, women's-specific hygiene needs are often totally overlooked. Days for Girls steps into that gap.
Okay, product, education, advocacy.
Yeah.
But how do they get this all out there sustainably? What's the distribution model?
This might be the most crucial part for long-term impact. Local leadership. Their whole philosophy is that local leaders know their communities best. They are the experts.
So not a top-down thing?
Not at all. The programming gets customized based on the local culture, the specific taboos, the regional context. That way, the solution is genuinely community-led, which makes it stick.
And that ties into their social enterprise model.
Directly. They empower local leaders, mostly women, to actually start their own licensed days for girls' businesses. These women become entrepreneurs.
So they learn to make the pads locally.
Yep, they get training to sew the kits, they sell them at affordable prices within their community, they deliver the health education, and they become local advocates for change.
So it's creating jobs, too.
Definitely. It's a market-based approach. Communities invest in their own solution. It's not just a handout. This program's running in 28 countries now, created over 450 jobs, and importantly, 85% of those jobs are held by women.
Wow. Empowering women to solve the problem for women.
Exactly. It's an empowering economic exchange.
And the power of that model.
Yeah.
It brings us right back to Alice, doesn't it? The girl who got slapped, who failed her exam.
It does. She took all that trauma, that shame and anger, and she turned it into her passion, her business.
So what's she doing now?
Alice now runs the Smile Star Enterprise in Nakuru, Kenya. She's a Days for Girls social entrepreneur.
No kidding. That's incredible.
Isn't it? She has personally reached over 80,000 girls in her region. Her business employs 30 people, 24 of them women, and she is fiercely determined that no girl in her community will ever go through what she did.
That's tangible change, from victim of the system to someone actively dismantling it.
Precisely. It's that shift from victimhood to leadership.
Okay, so wrapping this up. When we look at the whole picture, the problem, the solutions, what's the big takeaway for you, for our listeners?
I think the core realization has to be this. Menstrual inequity isn't some side issue. It has deep, real, damaging consequences across health, safety, education, economic potential, everything.
But the solutions are there.
Yes, the solutions are proven, they're scalable, and crucially, they work best when they empower local leaders to erase the shame and just provide basic dignity.
It really connects back to that idea you raised earlier, the invisible barrier to global progress.
Absolutely. If you care about any global development issue, education, economic empowerment for women, tackling gender-based violence, health outcomes, you simply have to address menstrual health first.
Otherwise, you're hitting a wall.
You are. Without tackling this fundamental physical and social barrier, women and girls just can't make the progress we need them to make in all those other areas. It holds everything back.
But it's a barrier we can tackle.
We absolutely can. With models like this, it's genuinely something we can resolve within our lifetime. And it comes back to that final thought. The price of providing a pad isn't much, but the equity, the potential, the dignity it unlocks, that is truly priceless.